Now, they start to get attacked inside their perimeter. And here we go. At that moment, the first rush was made by the enemy. 20 to 30 Viet Cong appeared coming at the south wire at a dead run. I shouted for my men to shift fire on them. There was no need for my words. My men were responding well. We were getting off a handheld flare every 30 seconds, which illuminated the rushing enemy very clearly. The 2 machine guns on that portion of our perimeter barked out a welcome in neat 6-round bursts. Several of the enemy fell. Their first rush was stopped in its tracks. It was becoming increasingly clear that the machine gun was going to be the key weapon in the initial stoppage of the fight. And I just highlighted that because I know I hear from military guys all the time, guys that are overseas, and I just wanted to reiterate that. In a firefight, the machine gun is the key weapon. Now, they're continuing to being attacked, and from the southeast, a woman came running toward the break in the wire. She was carrying a bulky object in her arms, but in the flickering light of the flares, it was impossible to identify it. "Don't fire," Lawrence barked. I was not sure I agreed. If it was a satchel charge that the woman was carrying, she would be able to fling it in at us in another few steps. The explosion would rip apart that perimeter wide open, allowing the enemy to rush through unimpeded. On the other hand, if the woman was seeking help, it would be a tragedy to cut her down. As I hesitated, the heavy beat of enemy rounds forced her down. Lawrence made a dash for the wire, got 10 steps, and then went into a low crawl. Inching his way along, he made it to a break in the wire and came up to the woman. In her arms was her 7-year-old daughter. The little girl had taken a round clean through the chest, a lung was collapsed, and she was bleeding heavily. Her mother was trying to make it to us to save the child. So, again, this is the dichotomy of war. You got people torturing and murdering old women, and then you get this situation where there's a woman who's rushing the perimeter, and this guy, says he's don't shoot her, and then crawls out, risks his life to go and try and find out what the situation is and help her. There's darkness and there's light. They beat back that attack, and the next morning they go out on patrol. Killigan was the point man on the first patrol out the morning after the fight. All night he'd worked the machine gun from the southern tip of the platoon triangle, his steady hand holding the enemy rushes at bay. Early in the fight, the attackers had recognized Killigan's prowess and tried their best to put him out of action. The sandbags surrounding his position were torn and poked from the bullets and shrapnel aimed at his early retirement. He had not flinched throughout the night, and now he took up the point with the alertness of a well-rested cat. The man seemed indestructible.